Hi everybody, this is Claire Rooney once again from clairerooney.com. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about why is it that the world has got so much of a problem with obesity? Why do people have such a problem losing weight? Well, it's quite bizarre really. We're living in a world where we have such an explosion of information. Never have we known more in the realm of science, in the realm of hormones, in the realm of toxicity, in the realm of exercise modalities and nutrition and whatnot. And yet the world is simply getting fatter and fatter. So what I'm going to talk about today is one of the things that contributes to this phenomenon. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some metaphors used by a guy called George Leonard. Now he wrote a book called Mastery, and it's a wonderful book for anybody wanting to get an insight into mindset and how your mindset has a massive input into the output you get with the results in whatever area you're addressing in your life. So in this book, the guy defines three basic personality types. The first type is called the Dabbler, the second one is called the Hacker, and the third is called the Master. Now, you are going to fit into one of these three areas in multiple areas of your life. In one area of your life, you may be a Master, in another area, you might be a Dabbler, and in yet another area, you might be a Hacker. So, if you want to get results that are meaningful and lasting, you really need to be in the Mastery zone. So, what are the other zones pertaining to? Well, the Dabbler is the person who, from an exercise example, is changing what they're doing on a regular basis. They're doing whatever's fashionable. When step aerobics was in vogue, back in the 80s, they were doing that. And then when vibration training came along, then they were the ones doing that. Then when CrossFit became popular, they just jumped over and started doing CrossFit, or they did Zumba. Now this person changes their exercise routine like the weather changes, or they change their exercise routine like the fashion seasons. Now ditto, I would say the same about trainers. Trainers who are not on the path of mastery will also be changing, the advice they're going to be giving to their clients, depending on what's fashionable. One minute they're going to be doing boot camps with their clients, the next minute they're doing Pilates, the next minute they are doing high intensity interval training and whatnot. They change also like the weather. So is it any wonder if their clients are confused? So the Dabbler just hops from one method to another. They never stick with it long enough to get results. They're always changing. So that is why they're not getting results, and they're still going to have the excess weight. They're still going to be complaining about the thunder thighs and whatnot. Now the next person is the Hacker. Now the Hacker, from my experience, is the kind of person who's very, very hard on themselves. They have a very militant approach to their training, and they go for a very severe and radical approach to either their diet or their training. Now if it's training, they're going to fling themselves into something like an Ironman, something like a triathlon, something like a marathon or an ultramarathon. They basically believe deep down that unless they're suffering or punishing themselves royally, that they're not going to get results. And it's almost like a form of self-loathing. They're literally beating themselves up. They hack away at their plan, and because the plan doesn't honor or respect how the body works or how the body needs to recover, this person invariably tends to burn out. I actually consulted with a client briefly who was one of these ultramarathon runners, and he had such severe plantar fasciitis, which is an irritation of the lining of the sole of your foot essentially, and he couldn't even stand up. He had to sit down when I was interviewing him. He wasn't able to stand up because he was that bad, and he still wanted me to get him back out running again. That's all he wanted to do, was to get back out running. And I said, listen, your body is so brutally beaten up that you can't even see what you're doing to yourself. So that he was an example of a person who is a hacker. He was going to destroy his body before he was ever going to get at a level of leanness and happiness and health in his body. Now the final path is the path that almost nobody is on. Very, very few people will choose this path because most people deep down just want to be normal, average and the same as everybody else. So therefore they're going to do what the average person do. The average person, the normal person, does the dabbling and the hacking. The person who's on the path of mastery sees that their whole life is going to unfold before them in a way that they are creating themselves. So every choice you make is actually creating your life life and it's creating your body. And if you're on the path of mastery, you basically have to have a system that's been proven, a system that has stood this test of time, a system that's progressive, a system that respects and honors the multifaceted nature of a person's being. You are physical, you're mental, you're emotional, you're spiritual, and a lot of other things that I could go into. And unless your program actually respects all of those areas, you're not actually going to get results. The path of mastery requires, for example, that you get your body tested before you start exercising to see where you're at right now. There's no point in starting if your body is, all out of balance, biomechanically, restricted. You've got, instabilities in your body. You've got core control issues. You've got muscle imbalances, and there's no point in, for example, signing up for a boot camp, under those circumstances. Now, the thing is, the normal, average, and the same as everybody else type of person is going to do that. The dabbler is going to do that. The hacker is going to do that. But the person on the path of mastery says, hang on a second, my body is actually a very, very complex entity. It's an extremely complex structure. Wouldn't it make sense that I would put a little bit more time into it? I send my car to the garage. I send it to an expert who knows about the mechanics of it to make sure it is up and running. Why wouldn't I send myself to an expert to find out how my body works and to make it work better? Well, if you're on the path of mastery, that makes perfect sense to you. You're going to go to somebody, you're going to consult with somebody who knows how your body works, who knows the inner workings, who knows the physiology, who knows things like muscle balance, who knows how to break down movement patterns, who knows how to strategize your workout program so it's progressive, who knows that making you squat on day one probably isn't a good idea if you've got a sacroiliac joint imbalance, who knows that making you do, walking lunges is probably not a good idea if you've got chronically tight hip flexors. So in order to be able to assign, exercise to you, you need to be with somebody who knows how to assess you properly and who knows how to progress you properly and who knows, the science of training. Now, with nutrition, it's a similar story. The dabbler is going to be changing and doing the latest fashion in nutrition. They're going to have done the fasting diet, they're going to have done the Dukan diet, they're going to have to do the Okinawa diet. They will have tried every diet under the sun, and it'll change with the seasons. They're just never going to find out what works for them, because being on the path of mastery nutritionally means you realize you're completely unique and that there's no one nutritional plan that's going to fit you. You are going to have to find out what works for you. No more than finding the perfect partner in life, be it a boyfriend, be it a girlfriend, be it a husband or a wife. It's not a one-size-fits-all criterion. You're going to have to actually find out what works for your own body, and that only comes with introspection. You can get guidance on the process, which can fast-track the process for you. Most people who have done it on their own, it takes them about 20 years to figure out, what makes their own body tick, because it really is the path of mastery. Learning what works for you, learning what works for your physiology and your own uniqueness. So if you want to get results and you want to lose fat permanently, what I would recommend for you is decide today to quit being a dabbler, quit being a hacker. Quit beating yourself up with extreme regimes that you cannot maintain long term, and quit dabbling and hopping from one system to the next. Find somebody who has made it their life's work to study the science of human movement, the science of nutrition, the science of generating and creating and instituting health. Find a person like that. Find a person that you get excited to be around, a person that inspires you, and study with that person. And if you are with that person long enough and you're around them long enough, their patterns of behavior are going to rub off on you. For example, my clients around me, I've had clients who just cannot stand exercise, and I start training them because I absolutely love exercise. All of a sudden they think, oh my God, I love it too. Because this is how it works. I was training yesterday and I was starting to lift heavy again after a period of, light lifting for various reasons. And I was just buzzing after a workout where I was back doing my 3RM in my front squat. And I had so much energy for the rest of the day that the clients that I were training that evening were just on fire because they were feeding off my fire. So if you're a person who's not motivated to exercise, find a person who just loves it, because that fire and that passion is going to rub off into your universe and you're going to start loving it too. So this is a few little tips on how to break out of the mold of not being able to lose the weight and getting stuck in a fat loss rut. You got to leave the dabbling world, the hacker world, and move into the mastery world. And if you're around a person who's already on the path of mastery, it's so much easier for you to stay on track yourself. So this is Claire Rooney signing out from clairerooney.com. Thanks for listening. Drop by the website. I've got plenty more blogs there and other information to keep you inspired and motivated to make radical changes in your health and in your wellness.